I'm going to show you how to run actions via the Orchestrator REST API. Let's get started. Hi everyone, I'm Watrous from VVork. If this is your first time here and you want to learn about automating, programming, and monitoring in VMware environments, you're in the right place. In the previous few videos, we've been taking a look how you can use the Orchestrator REST API to look up information about actions. Again, we're talking here specifically about Orchestrator actions. What we're going to be talking about in this video is how you can run those actions. Let's go take a look in the lab environment. All right, before we go take a look at our REST request in this video, I want you to notice that I have a Postman variable here called action_execution_ID, and currently its value is blank. We'll learn in a little bit here why I'm telling you that and what this variable is about, but for right now, I just want you to see that it's blank. All right, so what we're going to go do is take a look at this REST request called run actions. And as you can see from its endpoint URL, we need to pass in the ID of the action that we want to run. Now, you already know how to do that from the previous two videos. If you haven't seen the previous two videos, you need to go back and watch them. So we've got the action ID already in our Postman variable. And to run the action, we need to add on /executions. But additionally, we need to change that to, get to a post. So post blah, 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 action ID /executions will let us run the action. Something else that you need to do is set up the body. Now, you'll notice here I'm passing in this JSON formatted body whatever inputs this action requires. Now, the way you format this JSON formatted collection of inputs is very similar to how we did it when we wanted to run an Orchestrator workflow. Again, in this example here, we're just passing in a string type input with the value of Brian, and it's an input called first name. Again, that's a simple input. As you get more and more complex, admittedly, these bodies get more complex to represent those more complex objects. Again, watch the previous videos about running Orchestrator workflows, or if you want, just go look at williamlam.com and take a look at his blog post from March of 2020, where he talks about how to work with complex objects such as a vSQL and virtual machine. All right, you need to set up your body, and then you'll click send. Now, just before we click send, I'm going to point out to you that when we get back the response body, we've got some test code that we're going to run. We'll take a look at that in a moment. But let's go ahead and send our request. In case you didn't catch this here because I didn't explain it, the action that we're going to run, the one that has this action ID, is our action called say hello. So let's go run our REST request by clicking send. We check our response code is in the 200 range. That's good. And we get back a response body that has two things in it. It tells us that what we can do in our subsequent REST request to find out what's going on with this action is to use this ID. Now, this ID here is not a workflow ID. This is not an action ID. This is an ID for this specific time that we ran this action. It's analogous to a workflow token ID. This is the action execution ID. And what this test code is doing, where's my test code? What the test code is doing is extracting this piece of information. This is our action run ID, and it's shoving it into a Postman variable called action_execution_ID, which is the variable I mentioned at the beginning of this video. If we go back to VVork, remember I told you to notice that this variable had no value? Well, now action_execution_ID does have a value. And what is that value? That value is your ID for that specific run of this action. And if you want to, you can use REST requests such as this one here to find out more information about what's going on with that action. Again, in order to use this REST request, you need that action execution ID, and you now know how to get that by running the previous REST request. Join me in the next video as we continue to explore the Orchestrator REST API.